The Broken Dream, a sad but inspiring story. English listening practice. The dream that faded. Oliver was a boy who lived in a small but busy city. His family was not rich, but they were warm and kind people. Oliver's father worked in a shop, and his mother worked at a small cafe. They always tried to give their son the best they could, but Oliver did not care about money, clothes, or new phones. His biggest love was football. From the time he was a little child, Oliver would run outside with a ball. When he was 5, he already knew how to kick it very well. He would play for hours in the backyard, pretending he was scoring the winning goal in a big stadium. His neighbors sometimes laughed when they saw him alone in the rain, shouting, "Goal," as if the whole world was watching. But to Oliver, those moments were magic. At school, everyone knew about his passion. Teachers noticed that, when they asked him about his future, he always said the same thing: "I want to be a football player." He drew footballs in his notebooks, he wrote the names of his favorite players on his desk, and he carried his ball everywhere. His friends sometimes joked, Oliver will marry his football one day, but deep inside, they admired how much he believed in his dream. Every day after school, Oliver ran to the field near his house. The field was old and not very nice. The grass was too long in some places, and in others, there was only dirt. The goals had no nets, and the paint was gone, but to Oliver, that place was more beautiful than any stadium. It was his world. Sometimes he trained alone, running, kicking, and imagining defenders around him. Sometimes he trained with his friends, and they played until it was too dark to see the ball. His shoes were old, with holes in them, but he never complained. For Oliver, the ball was more important than anything else in the world. His parents worried about his future. His mother often told him, "Oliver, football is wonderful, but you also need to study. Life is not easy. Not everyone can become a professional." Oliver always smiled and answered, "But I will. I will train harder than anyone." His father also smiled, but quietly thought that the boy was dreaming too big. Still, they both supported him, because they loved how much light football brought into his eyes. When Oliver turned 15, something changed. He joined a local team. It was not a famous club, but it gave him the chance to play in small tournaments. He wore a real uniform for the first time in his life, and he felt proud. Every match was like a battle for him, and he played with all his heart. People started to notice him. Coaches said he had talent. His friends believed he really could become professional one day. But fate is sometimes cruel. One evening, during training, Oliver was running fast, trying to score. A defender blocked him, and Oliver fell badly. He felt a sharp pain in his leg. At first, he thought it was just a small injury. He tried to stand up but couldn't. His coach took him to the hospital, and the doctors gave him terrible news. His leg was badly injured, and he should not play football seriously again. When Oliver heard this, his world broke. He couldn't believe it. "No, it's impossible," he thought. "I will heal. I will play again." But as the weeks passed, the pain stayed. Even when the leg started to recover, the doctors repeated the same words: "You must be careful. Professional football is too dangerous for you now." Oliver's dream, the dream he carried since he was a little boy, was gone. 4 days, he stayed in his room, looking at the ball in the corner. He didn't touch it. He didn't even want to see it. His friends knocked on his door, asking him to come outside, but he said no. The field, which once felt like home, now felt like a place full of pain. His parents tried to encourage him. His mother said softly, "Oliver, you are more than football. You have other talents." His father added, "Life does not end with one dream. You can find another." But Oliver did not listen. To him, life without football was empty. He felt like he had lost not only his dream, but also a part of himself. It was the first time Oliver understood true sadness. The boy who once laughed and played all day now sat in silence. Nights felt long, and mornings felt heavy. For Oliver, the world had lost its color. Shadows of the past. The days after Oliver's injury turned into weeks, and the weeks slowly became months. The world outside continued as usual. Children still played in the park, people still rushed to work, and football matches were still on television. But inside Oliver's heart, there was silence. He felt as if the entire world had forgotten about him. Every morning, when he opened his eyes, he remembered the pain. Not just the pain in his leg, but the pain in his heart. He looked at his football shoes under the bed. Once, they were his treasure, full of dirt and memories from hundreds of matches. Now, they looked like broken promises. Dust began to cover them, just like dust was covering his dream. At school, Oliver changed. Before, he was full of energy. He was the boy who ran in the hallways, who smiled the brightest, who always talked about football. Now, he was quiet. His friends noticed. Some of them tried to help. "Oliver, come on, it's just one injury. You'll be fine," they said. But those words only hurt him more. They didn't understand. It wasn't just one injury. It was the death of the future he had imagined every single day since he was a child. He stopped going to the field. His friends still played there every evening, shouting, laughing, running until the stars appeared. Oliver could hear them from his window, but he never joined. The sound of the ball hitting the ground, once the sweetest sound to his ears, now felt like a knife cutting into his chest. At home, his parents worried more and more. His mother sometimes stood outside his door, listening to the silence inside. She remembered the boy who used to sing loudly while cleaning his shoes, the boy who never came home without a ball under his arm. Now, he sat alone, staring at the wall. His father tried to talk, but Oliver usually answered with only one or two words. One night, his father sat beside him and said, "Oliver, I know it's hard. I know you feel like everything is finished, but son, life gives us pain not to destroy us, but to make us stronger. Maybe you can't play football professionally, but that doesn't mean football has to leave your life. You can still love it in another way." Oliver didn't answer. He looked at the ball in the corner and felt tears in his eyes. For him, football was not just a game. It was his dream, his heart, his whole identity. Without it, he felt lost. Slowly, his grades at school started to fall. Teachers were worried. "Oliver, you were always smart. What happened?" they asked. But he didn't care. Nothing seemed important anymore. His dream had been taken from him, so why should he try for anything else? His friends began to visit him less. At first, they came often, telling him about matches and tournaments. They thought it would cheer him up, but Oliver became angry. "Stop talking about football in front of me," he shouted one day. After that, fewer people came. Loneliness grew around him like a dark shadow. But life has a strange way of surprising us. One afternoon, while Oliver was walking home from school, he passed the old football field. He had avoided it for so long, but that day, something made him stop. Children were playing there. Their clothes were simple, and some of them didn't even have proper shoes. But they laughed, they ran, they shouted with pure joy. Oliver stood by the fence, watching them. His chest hurt, but at the same time, something warm moved inside him. One little boy, maybe 8 years old, fell while chasing the ball. Oliver ran to help him without thinking. He lifted the boy up and said, "Are you okay?" The boy smiled and nodded. Then he looked at Oliver's face and asked, "Do you play football too?" For a moment, Oliver wanted to say, "Yes, I used to," but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he just shook his head. The boy didn't notice his sadness. He grabbed Oliver's hand and said, "Come play with us. We need one more player." Oliver hesitated. His legs still hurt sometimes. His heart was still heavy. But when he looked into the boy's excited eyes, something inside whispered, "Maybe just once." He stepped onto the field. The grass was the same. The goals were still old, but the air felt different. The children laughed and shouted around him. When the ball came to his feet, his body remembered what to do. He kicked it, not too hard, but strong enough. The ball flew into the goal, and the children cheered. "Wow, you're good." For the first time in months, Oliver smiled. That evening, when he came home, his mother noticed the change in his eyes. They were still sad, but now there was a small light inside them. She didn't ask questions. She just hugged him and whispered, "Welcome back, my son." From that day, Oliver began visiting the field more often. Not to play seriously, his leg didn't allow that, but to help the younger kids. He taught them how to pass, how to shoot, how to run without getting tired. The children loved him. They called him Coach Oliver. At first, he felt strange. He wasn't a professional. He was just a boy whose dream was broken. But slowly, he realized that maybe his father was right. Football didn't have to leave his life completely. Maybe his role wasn't to play in big stadiums. Maybe his role was different, but still important. Still, at night, when he was alone, sadness returned. He lay in bed and asked himself, "Is this enough? Will I ever be truly happy without living my dream?" His heart was torn between the past he couldn't return to and the future he couldn't yet see. The shadows of his past still followed him, but now there was also a faint light, a small hope that maybe, just maybe, life still had something beautiful waiting for him. A new beginning. The next months of Oliver's life were a strange mixture of sadness and hope. On some days, the weight of his broken dream pressed on him so heavily that he could hardly breathe. On other days, when he stood on the field with the children, shouting encouragement, laughing with them, and showing them how to move with the ball, he felt almost alive again. The children adored him. They waited for him every afternoon, running to the gate as soon as they saw him coming. Coach Oliver," they cried, their voices full of excitement. For them, Oliver was not a boy with a broken dream. He was a hero, someone who made them feel stronger, braver, and happier. One evening, as the sun was setting and the field was glowing in golden light, a little girl named Emma came to him. She was only 10, shy and quiet, but she had started to play football after meeting Oliver. She looked at him with serious eyes and said, "Coach, when I grow up, I want to play like you. Will you promise to teach me everything you know?" Oliver froze. His throat tightened, and for a moment he couldn't answer. The words, "play like me," cut deep, because he knew he would never again play the way he once dreamed. But when he looked at Emma's hopeful face, he realized something. Perhaps his dream could live on through others. Perhaps the fire inside him could light other fires. He smiled gently and said, "Yes, Emma, I'll teach you everything I can." That night, when he lay in bed, he thought about what had happened. For so long, he had believed his life was over, that he had lost everything. But maybe he had only lost one path. Maybe there was another waiting for him, hidden until now. At school, things slowly improved. His teachers noticed he was paying more attention again. His friends started talking to him, not about football, but about other things, music, movies, school trips. Oliver realized that life had many sides, not only one. Football had been his everything, but the world was bigger than just a ball in a field. Still, deep inside, the sadness never disappeared completely. Some nights he woke up from dreams, where he was running on the pitch again, hearing the roar of the crowd, scoring the winning goal. And when he opened his eyes, the silence of his room felt unbearable. Tears often came, but he didn't hide them anymore. His mother once told him, "Crying doesn't mean you are weak. It means your heart is still alive." One Saturday, a local coach who worked with young players came to watch the children on the field. He noticed Oliver standing with them, giving advice, showing techniques, organizing little games. After the match, the coach approached him. "You have talent," the man said. Oliver frowned. "I can't play anymore. My leg." "I'm not talking about playing," the coach interrupted. "I'm talking about teaching. You have the gift of inspiring these kids. Have you ever thought about becoming a real coach?" The words struck Oliver like lightning. A coach. He had never imagined it. For him, football was always about being the one on the field, the one scoring goals. But now, for the first time, he saw another possibility. That evening, he told his parents about the conversation. His father's eyes lit up. "See, Oliver, I told you, football will never leave you. It just chose another road for you." His mother hugged him tightly, whispering, "We are proud of you, no matter what." From then on, Oliver's life began to change. He started reading books about coaching, watching matches not just as a fan, but as a student of the game. He paid attention to tactics, strategies, and player psychology. He realized football was not only about running and scoring, it was about teaching discipline, teamwork, and courage. Years passed. Oliver finished school and joined a sports academy to study coaching. It wasn't easy. Sometimes he doubted himself. Sometimes the sadness of his lost dream returned. But every time he stepped onto a field with young players, he felt alive again. Their laughter, their energy, their trust in him gave him strength to keep moving. Emma, the little girl, who once asked him to teach her everything, became one of his best players. She grew fast, stronger and more confident every year. When she was 15, she told him, "Coach, I want to play for the national team one day." Oliver looked at her and saw the same fire that once lived inside him. This time, it didn't hurt. This time, it made him proud. On the night of her first big tournament, Oliver stood at the side of the field, watching his students play. The stadium wasn't big, but it was full of parents, friends, and neighbors. When Emma scored a goal, the children ran to him, shouting, "Coach, Coach, did you see that?" His heart filled with a joy so powerful it almost made him cry. He realized that his dream hadn't died, it had only changed shape. He wasn't the one scoring goals anymore, but through his students, he was still part of every victory, every smile, every success. And in that moment, he finally understood. Sometimes life breaks our path not to end it, but to lead us to another one we never imagined, but one that might be even more meaningful. Oliver looked at the field, at the shining eyes of the children, at Emma raising her arms in celebration, and he whispered to himself, This is my dream now."